one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
This story is brought to us from The Guardian. A former police chief of Vallejo, a San Francisco Bay Area city that has attracted national attention over police violence, has said that he endured a steady procession of racist remarks from colleagues and online harassment and threats that ultimately led him to resign. By the time Chief Shawny Williams, I know that name well, I've done stories, tendered his resignation in 2022, he said he had received a slew of threats at his office, at his home, and in his email box. Most demanded he step down, but even after resigning, the threats still came by mail to his home and a second property he owned outside the state of California. He said they were hostile, toxic, and that was Williams testifying on a deposition. He said, I had safety concerns. Williams made the statements as part of a federal civil rights lawsuit against the Vallejo Police Department brought by Deanna Jenkins, whom officers pulled from a car and tased during a traffic stop in 2019. The incident occurred months after 6 Vallejo police officers shot her uncle, Willie McCoy. Remember that one, a 20-year-old rapper? They shot him 55 times while he was asleep in his car. That killing attracted widespread attention and thrust a spotlight on the police department's use of force. Remember that when he woke up and looked around and they shot him? The deposition, first reported by the Vallejo Sun, offers a window into what Shawny Williams describes as a pattern of hostile, threatening, and retaliatory behavior that ended his brief attempt to impose accountability on a department known nationally for unchecked violence and resistance to reform. Vallejo police officers have repeatedly drawn concern over their practices, perhaps most notoriously for the ritual of bending a badge tip, in which officers reportedly fold the tip of their badge back after killing someone on duty. Williams took over the department in 2019 with a mandate to reform it. His 3-year stint coincided with a national reckoning over police violence, sparked by nationwide protests over the 2020 murder of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin. Now, Shawny Williams said he experienced harsh backlash for his efforts to impose accountability on the department's use of force. He said he was our first black police chief in a department that's always been known as a racist police department, said lawyer Melissa Nold. She's representing Jenkins in the federal case. Now, it says to hear that he was run off because he was doing reform and discipline, that's very concerning. It doesn't seem like it should be possible that the people being reformed have that much power. That's what the attorney said. Now, in his deposition, Williams said a colleague made several disturbing statements, including, "This black Jesus can't save us." He described racial hostilities or comments made to him by a former police captain. Williams also said the city attorney threatened him, but did not describe how. The Vallejo Police Department did not immediately respond to the Guardian request for comment. They won't. They won't. Williams also received several anonymous threats through the Post and online. Now, 3 weeks before resigning in October of 2022, he received a Halloween card threat that said, "Quit today," and emitted a deafening screech that filled the hallway and kept blaring until the battery ran out. A secretary had opened the letter. When Williams heard it, he actually thought it was some kind of domestic violence occurring outside the building because it was so loud, he says. Williams also said that he received anonymous threats after an officer who shot an unarmed 22-year-old in 2020, later rejoined the police department. Officer Jarrett Ton shot and killed Sean Monterosa. I did the story on that after an alleged looting incident at a Walgreens during a George Floyd-inspired protest. Monterosa had his hands up and he got shot. Williams dismissed Ton after the shooting, but an arbitrator reinstated Ton in 2023 after Williams left the force. Ton was promoted to sergeant in September of this year, according to the Vallejo Sun. Afterwards, Williams said he received messages that said some bad things were coming. Williams said he asked the department to investigate the threats and raise concerns to the city manager, Mike Malone, but the city failed to act, and Malone appeared uninterested in helping him, Williams testified. He said, one of the things that I guess exacerbated my concerns was Malone's statement that this is not going to stop, or they're not going to stop until I fire you or you quit. And that was in the deposition that he said that, Williams. And he said that over half a dozen times, he said. By they, Williams said the city manager was referring to the Vallejo Police Officers Association, which serves as the bargaining unit for all ranks of police officers except the police chief in its negotiations with the city. The VPOA did not immediately respond to requests for comment. They won't. They won't. He said, my resignation was a result of a pattern of constructive termination hostility. There was racial animus, retaliatory things that were happening that just made it unbearable or impossible for me to perform my duties in a safe environment, says Shawny Williams. So this police chief comes out and he goes, look, man, I'm going to tell you everything. And that's what we need. More police chiefs and more sheriffs who come out and say, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm not hiding it. Here's what's going on. And I'll finish with this. Sheriff Chad Bianco is running for governor, and he's talking about leadership. We need leadership. Newsom has no leadership, and this and that. Well, what about Deputy Huizar? Huizar. Look that one up. Who unlawfully entered the home of a mother and her teenage son without a warrant, and he's still being investigated. All charges were dropped on her. Was he ever fired? No. Was he ever charged with home invasion? No. Was he ever charged with a Fourth Amendment civil rights violation? No. But here's this sheriff talking about leadership. We need leadership in this country, in this state. We need leaders to step up. Why don't you step up, buddy, and fire that deputy and charge him with home invasion or Fourth Amendment civil rights violation? He unlawfully entered a home without a warrant. But that's what we're dealing with, these sheriffs and these police chiefs that want to hide it, want to justify. Well, we are investigating. No, you're not. You're looking for a way to justify it. But this police chief, Shawny Williams, he steps back and goes, hold on a minute. Hold the phone. I'm spilling the beans. What do you all think about that? Let me know.